What's up, everyone? I am going to show you our exact blueprint for Facebook marketing in the construction and real estate industries. And so you might be wondering why we're doing this and why we're showing this. It's really to be able to help give you the knowledge on how to set up these ads and how to get started to being able to leverage Facebook marketing for your business. And so first things first is I'm going to show you how to set up a business manager. And if you have somebody that is doing your Facebook management, or if you are trying to do it, you absolutely must be using the business manager. If you're not, you're doing it just inefficiently and not as effectively as it needs to. And so you can see here, you can create an account for free. Whenever you do set up this account, it will be asking you to log in with your Facebook profile. We actually recommend that you create a new Facebook profile. The reason for that is if you use your personal Facebook profile, then if you ever want to turn this over to an employee or an agency or somebody else to help manage these, then it's connected to your personal Facebook. So the first tip is to create a new email address and set up a new Facebook profile, and then come in here and create a new business manager account. So once you create your account, you'll be able to come in here and see all sorts of different really unique things that you can do in here as far as running your Facebook page through this business manager. And one of the things we're going to be doing today is basically showing you how to run these Facebook ads and set them up in a way. And so one thing you might be wondering is, why would I be setting up Facebook ads for the construction or real estate industry? And the reason for that is because there are a ton of people that are daily active users on Facebook, and so that can get you in front of them through really, really precise targeting and in a really efficient manner. And so there are, in this industry specific, you've got to think that there are people that aren't ready to buy today, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't know that you exist. And the reason for that is, if you think about this in comparison to, say, a relationship, if you're married, you probably didn't just walk up to your husband or wife and say, "Will you marry me?" You had a long nurturing process where you began to gain trust and build on that relationship. And that's essentially what you're trying to do with your audience here. The chances of you getting somebody that is ready to buy right now for the exact property you have, at the exact price you have it at the exact location you have it at, is very, very, very slim. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it is slim. And so the way that you counteract that is you've got to create what's known as a funnel. And so you get people in at the top of the funnel by raising awareness that you exist. And so you start to build trust with them, and you start to get them to recognize your name. And then whenever they are ready to buy or are ready to invest money with whatever your service or product is, they know who to go to. And so some of the ways that you may be wondering, how can I use Facebook ads in this industry? What you're trying to do, like I said, is you're trying to raise awareness for your target audience. And so the way that you do that is you can create things that are called lead magnets. And these lead magnets are essentially content or information or checklists or tools, anything that can really help your audience benefit. And so, for example, if you are a remodeler, you could create something that says 5 questions to ask anyone working on your house, or stop overpaying for home repairs. And these are all things that you can, through targeting, which I'll show you in a second, these are all things that you can be able to put in front of your target audience and say, "Hey, look, you're trying to serve them information. They don't know it, but it's to gain their trust. But you're trying to give them something in return, hoping that they give you either a phone call or an email address, whatever it is that your goal is." And so, for example, if you're a contractor, you could say "the truth about contractors" and then link that to a gated piece of content, or 7 things your custom home builder doesn't want you to know if you're a custom home builder. And that way you're really starting to gain authority and trust with these people. Other things that people are commonly have as common misconception is they try to boost posts, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a second. And that's just not as targeted as setting up and managing ads towards a target market. Or they'll try and do a free estimate or a free a free consultation. And to be honest, these are probably things in the industry that you and your competitors are already doing. So your target market is probably going to expect that already. So if you're offering a free estimate for a home repair, that's not that great of a magnet to be able to kind of pull these people in. Because the thing that you have to understand about Facebook is it is a passive platform. And what I mean by that is, unlike Google, where people go searching for a solution to their problem, on Facebook, it's passive, where they're looking at pictures of, babies and dogs, and they may not be thinking right at that moment, man, I really need to think about my finding a custom home builder or finding a contractor or a remodeler for this project. And so you've got to make something so irresistible that stops them in their tracks and says, yes, I'm going to take action. So you're interrupting them by showing up on their news feed. And I'll show you those ads in a second as well. But you're interrupting them, and so you've got to make it worth their while. And so I've thrown around a lot of different terminology. And so one of the things that I want to show you first is kind of what the ad placements are and how to know which is right for your business. And so this is an example of some of the different placements that Facebook has. They've actually expanded their placements outside of this, but this will give you a good starting point. They have the first one here, which is a desktop news feed, and that shows up in the regular feed as somebody is scrolling through, viewing statuses and pictures of friends and family. And so it's probably one of the most natural ads because it integrates with other organic posts of, like I said, friends and family. Over here, you'll see that they have a right column ad, which these I typically don't recommend for clients because we've kind of created mentally what I refer to as blinders, as to where we kind of don't look at these and completely rule these out whenever we see them. We just don't pay attention to them as much. And then 3, you'll see that they have mobile news feed. This is similar as number 1, except it shows up on mobile. With setting up Facebook ads, you can choose whether you want desktop newsfeed or mobile newsfeed or both. Depends on your target and where you think that they are. It's definitely not bad to test both and see which one resonates and then optimize. But as far as additional placements, they also now have Instagram placements. They also have placements for what they call the audience network. I strongly do not recommend using the audience network unless you 100% know and can track where that is going. Typically, the audience network is displayed on things like partner mobile apps and stuff like that. And what we have seen is that there are a lot of fake or accidental clicks, which then just eats up your budget and doesn't really get you the results that you want. It looks good, but when you actually dig down, you'll see high bounce rates and short times on the website and stuff like that, which indicates that they probably accidentally tapped or clicked on that ad and were taken to your website. But you want to make sure the people that are clicking to your website are actually interested in what you're offering. So with these placements, an example of one that I'll show you is one that I just saw recently that says Home Chef. And so this is an example. The way that we know this is an ad is because right here it says sponsored. And so this showed up. This is a desktop news feed ad. And so this says sponsored right here. We know that that is an ad. It is promoted by Home Chef or whoever is running their ads. And so this is the there are several different components of an ad. And so this is the text that appears above the ad. This is similar to when your friend or family posts a status update. This is what it is supposed to resemble. And then there's obviously a big picture where you put your ad creative. And then there is a headline here. And we see that this is trying to get us to use a coupon for $30 off our first order. And so then you see that there's a subheading here, the link here, and then a call to action with the Shop Now button. And so this is a ad with the objective of trying to get people to their website to create their first order. And so that's why there is a coupon code here. And so when you click on this, it takes you to this landing page. And this is a great example of a landing page in several ways, because something that people often overlook or forget is that your landing page has to be simple. You don't want to cross-sell and upsell and all this stuff before they've even taken the very first step. And so if you have a menu bar, they're going to get distracted and click off and go somewhere else and probably not convert like you want them to. And so this is a good example because they have their logo, they've got a picture of food which reinforces what the ad was advertising, and then they've got three simple subheadings under this main heading and a get started button that I can click here. And so it's simple. Even at the top here, it shows about the promo code that they mentioned in the ad that I can apply. And so this is a really good example of keeping it clean and really, really just simple to try and get them to convert. And so when I mentioned earlier a few different ideas about how and why to use Facebook ads in the construction and real estate industry, one of the things that I mentioned was an example of some different headlines, and one of them was 7 things your custom home builder doesn't want you to know. And this would be targeting people that are looking or considering or in the process of vetting people to build a custom home for them. And so what you would do is you would set up and create an ad similar to what Home Chef has done, and then you would direct them to a landing page where you would get them to opt in to get the guide or the piece of information about the things that your custom home builder doesn't want you to know. And so what you're doing is you're building trust, but at the same time you're collecting information from them so that you can continue to nurture them. And it's important to nurture them because with the construction and real estate industry, sometimes there is a longer buying cycle, which means that you've got to build trust and build up that credibility of who you are beforehand. And so now I'm going to show you how to actually set up an ad. And I mentioned Business Manager before. If you log in with the account that you've set up for Business Manager, you can then find something called Ads Manager. And when you come in here to the Ads Manager, you'll see that you can create a new ad. And this campaign is asking, what is your marketing objective? And you see it says awareness, consideration, and conversion. And that's really important because I mentioned earlier about the sales funnel. And so in this example, you look at it, the funnel like this, to where it's awareness, interest, desire, and action. And that can correlate over here to the marketing objective, because what you've got to do is you've got to realize that these people more than likely aren't just going to go from the awareness to the action stage in the sense of seeing your name and buying a house from you, or seeing your name and hiring you to remodel their house. A lot of people need this middle area, what they call middle of the funnel nurturing, where they express interest and then they express desire and then they take an action. And the way that can be done through Facebook is whether or not you're trying to raise awareness, whether or not you're trying to push them into consideration, or whether or not you're trying to increase conversions. And there's a lot of different things that you can do depending on what you're going to do. One of the most common ones is to use this traffic objective to raise awareness and interest at the same time. And what I mean by that is you'll create an ad that then will take them to a landing page where they opt in for something because they're expressing interest that, yes, I want to hear more about the ways that I can stop overpaying for home repairs, or the 7 things that your custom home builder doesn't want you to know, some of the headlines we talked about earlier. And so those things are all important and things that we can point to here. And so if you're going to do traffic as your marketing objective, you can set up a link similar to the ad that I showed you with Home Chef here. And so if we go back and we set it up, if you're setting this up for your first time, you'll choose your objective, and then you'll come over here and click Create Ad Account. And then it'll ask you a few questions. What is your country, currency, and time zone? These are all correct. So I will hit Continue. And so the first step is traffic, website or messenger or an app. In this example, you would more than likely want to choose website or messenger because we'll want to direct them to a website which holds your landing page. And so this is where the Facebook targeting comes in that I mentioned. You can come in here and let's just say you wanted to do Houston. So you could choose Houston as the city, And from here, you can select whether you want 10 miles, 25 miles, whatever radius you want kind of around Houston. And so if you see this 25-mile radius, you may be saying, oh, well, I'm not hitting people outside the Grand Parkway, up here in Cypress and Waller, or I may, not be up in the Woodlands. And so you can either adjust this radius out, or if you say, well, I really just want to target people in the Woodlands, you can click here and click a drop pin, and you can really zoom in and say, I want to do, this drop pin plus 10 miles, or if you want to do, just right here, you can drop the pin right here and say, look, we want to go all the way down to 1 mile, and that way you're just targeting Oak Ridge North, and that's just super, super targeted. The problem with this is that you are narrowing the audience that is available for you to reach. So for example, right here you'll see it says potential reach 51,000 people. Okay, now if you contrast that with if we do Houston plus 25 miles, you're now targeting 4.2 million people. And so that's really important to try and differentiate who you want to target, what area you want to target, and what makes the most sense for your business. So in addition to that, you can choose people who live in this location, people who were recently in this location, or people traveling in this location. And so for example, if you do people recently in this location and Houston just had the Super Bowl, you're going to get a lot more people than people who live in this location or people who are traveling this location. But it depends on who your target is. And so you can also, you can choose geographically, you can also choose by age and gender. If you say, hey, my ideal person is between 40 and 60 that is recently retired or is at a place in their life where they're looking to move out on land and build on their own lot, whatever it is, you can start to target more, whatever it is, you can try and get more targeted with your selections. So then you can come down here and click detailed targeting. And this is where it gets really interesting because there is so much data being collected on Facebook and provided to Facebook that you can choose really, really specific things depending on what your industry is. And so we're talking about construction and real estate right now. And so let's say that you wanted to focus on somebody that was a recent home buyer if you're a remodeler. And so you can say, hey, this person was a recent home buyer. Maybe they have certain needs or upgrades that they want if they have an older home, or if you are trying to target, say, somebody who is a recent mortgage borrower, you can target that as well. And so you see over here, the more targeting we do, the smaller the reach gets, or the bigger the reach gets, depending on how many of these you add. Oftentimes we get the question of, well, what's a good potential reach? It really depends. Anything under 30 to 40,000 is going to be pretty specific, and you may see slower or not as many results. The problem with that also may be that if you get really, really, really specific, you may have your ad served to that small group of people so many times they have what's called ad fatigue. That's something where then you have to start to figure out changing up your creative and changing up your approach on that. So for this is 52,000 people. I would say, that would be good, or even more, up in the 80 to 100,000 people range as well. And you'll see here, this is where it says placements. You'll see that this is where we can select the different placements that we want. Here you can choose if you want mobile or desktop or both. And in the platforms, you can choose the audience network, Instagram or Facebook with the right column ads, or instant articles and feeds. And so for this particular example, I'm going to show you just doing it with feeds. I told you before, the audience network is somewhat unproven unless you really, really know how to leverage it. But we've seen a lot of fake or accidental clicks, and so the feeds typically works better because that is going to serve it on desktop and mobile, unless you alter this device type up here where it'll only show on one or the other. So then you can scroll down here and select your daily budget. This is really going to depend on you and what you want to spend and what you want to do. You can always change it and ramp it up to continue to grow. The thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to take this from one day and say, all right, here's 20 bucks, and the next day jump it up to $200, because that will typically cause what they call breaking your ad, and your ad will just stop, because it'll when you set your budget initially, they've got an algorithm, and it starts to understand and see how your audience is responding and figure out how to disperse that money accordingly, because your ads have a bid amount, and that all goes into the budget for what you're paying. And so these things tend to get really, really convoluted when you just increase your daily budget, not really incrementally. And so we recommend, if you're going to increase your daily budget every day to try and scale your ads, if they're working, we recommend doing it on basically a 15 to 20% increment each day. And so that we've seen that helps, and that is not going to make your ads break or plateau or anything of that nature. So that typically seems to be the best use for the increasing a budget. This is where you choose your format. Facebook does a really good job of explaining what each one of these is. The ad I showed you earlier was a single image ad. And so you can scroll down here, and you can either upload your own or choose from a stock photo. We'll just choose this one. And you can add more images if you want to create multiple ads to do what's called split testing, where you see what ad and what copy is resonating most with your audience, and that's definitely recommended. Choose several different ads, and then you can optimize for whichever one is being served and delivered the best. And so you can come down here and enter in whatever your website is. This is where you would be entering in the link to your landing page, wherever you have that hosted at. And then this is where you would add a headline, the text, and then a call to action. And this is an example. It gives you an example over here of what the ad would look like. And you can cycle between seeing it in the mobile news feed, the feature phone, and the desktop news feed. And it just gives you a visual to know that, hey, when my ad is served on my desktop news feed to my audience, this is what it's going to come through as. Typically, stock photos can work. If you have actual photos, it looks a little more natural, and people like seeing people in photos, so that's never a bad idea as well. Whenever you're setting this up, though, you can also choose a call to action depending on what you're trying to do, what next step you're wanting them to take. For example, if you have an app, you can have them call to action be download. If you're trying to get them to schedule something, you can do request time. If you're getting them to try and apply for something, you can do apply now. So there's quite a different amount of options depending on what your goal is. And so then you can also do things down here like setting up a Facebook pixel. And this pixel is great for what they call remarketing or retargeting. And what that means is if somebody lands on a certain page of your website, you can create an ad tailored just towards them. And so going back to that sales funnel earlier, if you've got somebody in a certain stage of your sales funnel and you're trying to move them through the sales funnel, you can continue to provide them different content or different resources depending on where they are in the sales funnel. And so that's important because you want to be able to nurture them and give them as much value as possible. And so this Facebook pixel is something we absolutely recommend, and it's something we implement every single time. And it's something that if you're not using, make sure to set that up and implement that on your website and really, really take advantage of that. And so once you're done here, you just click place order, and then it'll go into kind of a review process, and it'll say that it's reviewing your ads, and then it'll send you an email or a notification once it's live. So that's Facebook ads in a nutshell. Hopefully that gave you some insight on how to set them up, how to run ads, the things that you should be doing and the things that you should be implementing, and how to use Facebook ads in the construction and real estate industry to be able to raise awareness and get more leads and get in front of more people in a very, very targeted way. And so if this is something that you'd want to have done for you, click the link below and apply for a free strategy call, and we'll see if it makes sense to work together moving forward and having us manage your Facebook ads and set all this up for you. So thanks for watching and good luck with running Facebook ads.